In the annals of secret societies, the Theosophists present a fascinating paradox. Unlike the Illuminati, who are mythologized as puppet masters of statecraft, or the Rosicrucians, revered as ghostly alchemists in the laboratory, the Theosophists are the cartographers of the soul. Their treasure is neither political dominion nor the philosopher's stone. It is the permission to seek God outside the sanctuary. Founded in a modest New York apartment in 1875 by a cigar-smoking Russian noblewoman and a disenchanted American attorney, the Theosophical Society did not seek to conquer America. It sought to re-enchant it. And in doing so, it planted seeds that would blossom into the sprawling, chaotic, and deeply American garden we now call the spiritual but not religious. Here is the secret history of the Theosophists and the spiritual DNA they encoded into the American soul. On paper, the Theosophical Society was never a secret society. Anyone could join, requiring only an earnest and honest belief in universal brotherhood. But beneath the open society lurks something far more exclusive, the Esoteric section, ES. Theosophical leader G. de Puraca, speaking in 1930, admitted plainly, "We have in fact a secret society. It is not a branch of the Theosophical Society at all, but an esoteric body of students who are engaged in the study of the deeper teachings of Theosophy." Entry required the right knock. Members were sworn to silence, taught what Puraca called the inner carpentry of the universe, and entrusted with knowledge deemed too dangerous for the masses. Why secrecy? Not for political subversion, but for spiritual safety. Puraca warned that untrained minds given occult power could wreck the monuments of the greatest city of the world with a single act of will. The Esoteric section functioned as a spiritual nuclear non-proliferation treaty. The treasure was not withheld out of elitism, but out of terror, that knowledge without character is catastrophe. Scholars like Hugh B. Urban have identified this as a defining feature of modern esoteric movements, the advertisement of the secret. By declaring they possessed hidden knowledge, Theosophists made their secrecy itself a source of power and allure. The Theosophists did not merely settle in California, they believed they were destined to settle there. In her magnum opus, The Secret Doctrine, H.P. Blavatsky made a stunning declaration. Now occult philosophy teaches that even now under our very eyes the new race and races are preparing to be formed, and that it is in America that the transformation will take place and has already silently commenced. This was not metaphor. Blavatsky literally believed that California was the womb of the sixth root race, the next evolutionary step for humanity. The state was not just a destination, it was a prophetic landscape, a seedbed for spiritual mutation. This prophecy transformed Southern California into a magnet for esoteric utopians. Catherine Tingley established Loma Land at Point Loma in 1897. Annie Besant and her followers founded Crotona in Hollywood, later Ojai. These were not mere retreats, they were experimental stations for the coming race. The treasure here was the sacralization of American soil. Before Silicon Valley promised to perfect humanity through code, Theosophists promised to perfect it through karma and reincarnation on the same coastline. Every secret society needs its lost artifact. For the Theosophists, it was the temple doors of Loma Land. In 1901, British artist Reginald Mackell carved two monumental oak doors for Tingley's Aryan Memorial Temple, later the Temple of Peace. They depicted an ideal man and woman, embodiments of Theosophy's aspiration toward the harmony of spirit and matter. When the temple partially burned in 1953 and was later demolished, the doors vanished. For nearly 15 years, former Loma Land residents whispered, "What became of the doors?" In 1967, a groundskeeper at California Western University discovered something extraordinary in a crawlspace. Kenneth Small, whose family had lived at Loma Land, crawled into the dusty dark with a flashlight. As his father called out from above, young Ken described the carved figures emerging from the gloom. Indeed, he later recalled, they were the lost temple doors. The treasure was not gold. It was memory-made material. The doors now reside in San Diego, their survival a testament to the Theosophist belief that nothing truly sacred is ever permanently lost. Before the Beatles went to Rishikesh, before Deepak Chopra, before yoga studios occupied every strip mall, there was Theosophy. The Society's co-founders departed for India in 1879, embedding themselves in Buddhist and Hindu traditions. They returned bearing texts, concepts, and, crucially, legitimacy. Blavatsky wrote with authority about the Upanishads, the Smritis, and Advaita Vedanta, often without physical access to the books, claiming intuitive retrieval from the masters. Hinduism today acknowledges that Theosophy was the precursor and harbinger of Hinduism's arrival in the West. Concepts like karma, reincarnation, chakras, and the guru-disciple relationship entered American vernacular not through academic translation, but through theosophical popularization. The treasure was translation without colonization. At a time when Western nations were busy exploiting their colonies, Blavatsky taught the brotherhood of all humanity, the unity of all races. She gave America a Hinduism it could hear, stripped of missionary contempt. The theosophical influence on American spirituality is indirect. Its influence on India's independence was direct. Annie Besant, the British-born Irish firebrand who succeeded Occult as international president, made India her home. She observed that young, educated Indians under British rule had begun to lose pride in their own culture. Her response was radical. She translated the Upanishads, defended Hindu philosophy, and declared that without Hinduism, India has no future. Besant directly influenced Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and a generation of freedom fighters. She was arrested in 1916 for her home rule activism, sparking international backlash. Indira Gandhi later called her a woman of dedication and fervor who was elected president of the Indian National Congress, the highest honor we could then bestow. The treasure here is spiritual decolonization. Theosophy did not just bring the East to the West, it reminded the East of its own worth. Every American who practices yoga today owes an invisible debt to a Russian woman and an Irish woman who insisted that India's wisdom was the world's inheritance. The Theosophical Society fractured constantly. The Great Split of 1895 divided the American section from Adyar. Catherine Tingley broke with Hargrove. Rudolf Steiner broke away entirely, taking the German section with him to form Anthroposophy. Each schism was viewed by outsiders as weakness, but from the esoteric perspective, these fractures were dispersals. When the Hargrove branch formally disbanded in 1943, they described their dissolution as a period of Indrawal. The metaphor is telling. Theosophy did not die, it withdrew into the soil. Its concepts, universal brotherhood, spiritual evolution, the unity of religions, were absorbed into the cultural substrate. By the 1960s and 70s, these ideas re-emerged as the New Age movement. UFO channeling, crystal healing, and the human potential movement all carry theosophical DNA, even if their practitioners have never heard of Blavatsky. This is the deepest and strangest thread. In June 2025, a University of Zurich researcher visited Ojai and interviewed Pablo Sender, a longtime Crotona theosophist. Their conversation ranged from the evolution of consciousness to the challenges of teaching spirituality online. The researcher noted something uncanny: Theosophy's vision of spiritual evolution, of humanity transcending its current form through disciplined inner work, sounds remarkably like Silicon Valley's transhumanist dream. Are these entirely separate worlds, the researcher asked, or does California's utopian imagination simply change its vocabulary over time? The line from Loma Linda's Temple of Peace to today's Temple of Innovation is thinner than we think. When tech billionaires speak of human enhancement, mind uploading, or becoming multiplanetary, they are echoing, unconsciously, Blavatsky's prophecy of the sixth root race emerging on the American Pacific coast. The treasure, it seems, is still being excavated. Catherine Albanese, the great chronicler of American metaphysical religion, titled her masterwork A Republic of Mind and Spirit. The phrase is apartment. The Theosophists did not build cathedrals or armies. They built a republic, invisible, dispersed, but enduring. The lost treasure of the Theosophists is not the temple doors, though they are beautiful. It is not the secret teachings of the esoteric section, though they are profound. It is the democratization of mysticism. Before Theosophy, the Western seeker had two paths, orthodoxy or atheism. After Theosophy, a third path opened, the path of direct, personal, unmediated spiritual experience. Karma, reincarnation, meditation, the chakras, these are no longer the property of Himalayan adepts. They are the common inheritance of every American who has ever unrolled a yoga mat, consulted a horoscope, or wondered if this life is not the only one. The secret hidden in American spirituality is this: we are all Theosophists now. We simply forgot the name.